Okay, hello, I'm Pod Drew, and this is Drewz Reviewz, first episode. And the purpose of my show is going to be to pick two movies and review both of them, and they'll have some sort of connection in some way. And for my first episode, I thought, why not? Let's do something super popular and relevant to right now, and that's Batman. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Batman. So, today I'm going to, let's put the guy back here. Really cool out there. Now, that's like one of those pop things. But there's no pop Batman movie out yet. Who knows, maybe someday. But there is a Lego Batman movie, and I've just been to the theater to see it. So I want to talk about that. And for the connection, very simple connection, this episode, I also went back and rewatched the 1989 film Batman. Could be listed as the start of the whole Batman craze, at least movie-wise. That one directed by Tim Burton, and so I'm going to review that second. But let's get to the Lego Batman.
In the darkest night, I make the bad guys fall. There's a million heroes. Computer overcompensate. But I'm the best of them all.
I'm on my way, sir.
Who has the coolest gadgets? Who has the tricked out ride? Who does the sickest backflips?
Excited to see this film after I had seen not only the previews for it, which looked pretty good, but also the original, the Lego movie. And I think it was a surprise when it came out how funny it was, and people thought before that, it could just be one of these throwaway things like a Battleship movie or something like that, or like a Emoji movie that they have coming out. But it actually turned out to be really good, very funny, a lot of pop cultural references, which people like, including myself. And I enjoyed that one. And just seeing the Lego Batman, I would say I liked it even better, I think. Part of that, it's the humor is similar. Maybe there was even some funnier jokes in the original Lego movie overall, but I think a lot of those had to do with Batman was a character in that movie. Now making him the focus in this, a great idea. And just with the knowledge everyone, or a lot of people have with the Batman ethos and world, since it's so ubiquitous, it just makes the jokes hit harder, or makes it more interesting, to me at least, to see a world with just that. I would say maybe mild spoilers. Really only one, so skip a few minute ahead if you don't want to hear it. But what I was also excited to see was that it wasn't just Batman characters in this movie. There's a whole subplot plot with the Joker where he goes to a world where all these movie kind of villains exist, and similar to the first Lego movie where they're bringing things in from everywhere. Batman, Star Wars. I don't remember if that was one, but you get the idea. So in this movie, there's Sauron and Voldemort, who in those movies is played by Ralph Fiennes, who does the voice of Alfred in this.
Sir, it's time.
So yeah, that's just a little spoiler, I guess, but it was very funny to see them show up, and again with the pop culture references, good jokes like that. But like I said, the focus of this movie is Batman, although there are really four main characters: Batman, Will Arnett, Robin, Michael Cera. I mentioned already, Ralph Fiennes plays Alfred, and Barbara Gordon voiced by Rosario Dawson, are the four protagonists, and then the Joker is the main antagonist, as is in a lot of Batman movies, one of the most popular villains. He's going to be in the one from '89 I talk about in a minute, as the main character, frankly, of that film. But in this one, it sets up a nice interplay between the Joker and Batman, and they kind of play off that Joker being his greatest villain, and kind of the fact that villains are often more popular in the Batman world than the heroes, because they're so flashy and everything. But it sets up a nice dynamic in this movie where the Joker is not menacing exactly. This is a kid's movie, ostensibly, and a lot of themes in it kids will enjoy, and they'll get also the Batman storyline. But just with Joker, it's kind of set up to be a parallel to a relationship, even though it's a hate relationship here rather than love.
I got you.
Oh, yeah? Well, there's only one problem. Who's gonna defuse the bomb? It's gotta be one or the other, Batman. Save the city or catch your greatest enemy. You can't do both.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
You can't do both, I said.
No, I mean the other thing.
Save the city or catch your greatest enemy?
You think you're my greatest enemy?
Yes! You're obsessed with me!
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are! Who else drives you to one-up them the way that I do?
Bane.
No, he doesn't.
Superman.
Superman's not a bad guy.
Then I'd say that I don't currently have a bad guy.
Batman goes through a character arc in this film, Lego Batman. It's about not only accepting that Joker is his greatest enemy, but also accepting that he's not alone. He's not an island, even though he lives on one, literally, and he needs other people's help, namely a son type of figure in Robin, a father type of figure in Alfred, which he already has at the start of the movie, but doesn't treat him that well, and a maybe possible love interest down the line, but also a partner in fighting crime, which is Barbara Gordon, the daughter of Commissioner Gordon. Barbara becomes commissioner in this film at the beginning, so Jim Gordon doesn't have much to do in this one, nor does he have much to do in the Batman from '89 either.
Let him go!
But the characters are good in this, maybe surprisingly, but not really surprisingly to me since I saw the first film. The film has a lot of heart, and it is very funny. It's good for kids, definitely, and the theater I went in was packed with kids, and they're annoying at times, but look, I'm going to a movie that first opening weekend that kids are going to want to go out to, and it seemed like they all had a good time. No one was getting too ADD in the aisles there, maybe a little bit.
It's better. Now I'm free. Now I'm moving. Come on, Batman. Let's get grooving.
So kids and adults alike should enjoy this, I would think. Plenty of kind of slapstick humor mixed in with some meta jokes and plenty of references for the adults, or maybe the older kids even. Pretty standard when it comes to a lot of kind of family films these days. They like to have something for kids and adults, but I think it works really well here. But I would definitely recommend the Lego Batman movie, especially if you like pop culture jokes and a movie where there's constantly gags running through it.
The locals called me Reggae Man.
I love it. Feels like I was poured into this.
And great voice talent all around. And each little villain character gets some moments too, as well as the other villains I had mentioned earlier. So that's Lego Batman.
What?
I like to fight around.
Let's talk about Tim Burton's original Batman, 1989, starring Michael Keaton as the titular Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And even though it is the titular Batman, really I would think, especially on a rewatch of this film, which I had not seen in a very long time, this movie could be called Joker. I think Burton is more interested in this character. Nicholson's top billed, of course, which makes sense for the time. That's happened in some other Batman films as well, but yeah, a lot of focus given to Joker in this film, and I think it changes up a lot of things maybe from the comic books, most of which I haven't read or anything, but I just know from kind of general osmosis, I guess, that the people who killed Bruce Wayne's parents, or the person that did it, was not the Joker, who is not a previous character, which this movie does set up. He's a guy named Jack Napier.
You ain't got no future, Jack.
You're an A1 nut boy, and Grissom knows it.
Better be sure.
It seems that for some reason Jack Nicholson has to be named Jack in a lot of his films. I just rewatched The Shining recently too, where his name was also Jack, so I never realized that happened so much, but I don't know if he just doesn't want to remember another name or something. Also, a lot in this movie I noticed, he's got the traditional Joker white face, but he does like a tan face a couple times in this film. And the first time he does it, it made sense to me. He's kind of taking over with the fellow gangsters, and then he wipes it off and reveals himself. But then doing it a couple times later in the movie, I didn't see a purpose for. I was thinking maybe it's just Jack Nicholson doesn't want to put all the extra white makeup on for these scenes. Could be a possibility. Maybe it's nothing. I don't know. Maybe it's some Burton touch. And speaking of that, Burton's touches are evident right away from basically the first frame of this movie. If you're familiar with his other films, kind of big kind of sets, but clearly set looking, designed in a certain way to look like that. And then little miniatures and everything like that, and the general aesthetic. And even there's a lot of pictures I noticed this time around of kind of naked people in the back of a lot of frames, but done in like a gothic art style, which is generally how a lot of his movies, especially this one, look. that's kind of his aesthetic as a director. So looks great, the movie, even though, I mean, watching it years and years later, I'm sure it looked better back in the time when it was a newer type of feel and vibe, and you can see the miniatures and things like that now, spot them better now, but I still, that's not a fault of the film. Even on a watch years later, I think it did look very good and in a nice dark kind of vibe, not so gritty like the later Batman films with Christian Bale, but it sets it up with a dark kind of adult vibe, not a kid's film, a la Lego Batman. But then there's some of the issues that I have with some of Byrne's other films I've seen, and I think is generally considered about him. He sets up these cool worlds and good aesthetic, but doesn't, and even some nice characters maybe, but doesn't get the story down exactly right, or doesn't focus on it as much, which I think could be considered in this film too. Or maybe just the way the story goes, kind of that it is more Joker's movie. It didn't work as well for me. So going to Bruce Wayne Batman, I did also feel that Michael Keaton was a bit of a strange choice as Bruce Wayne, at least. And I think it was at the time too, before he came on board, or when he signed on to do the movie initially, I think people thought that maybe. But, so yeah, comparing him to some of the other Bruce Waynes, it didn't work as well for me.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Could you tell me which of these guys is Bruce Wayne?
Well, I'm not sure.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah. Huh? Oh, certainly. Yeah.
And he's doing his kind of Michael Keaton actor things, like a lot of face acting. I don't know. That's what I think Keaton's a very good actor, but I can see the kind of things he's doing, and he's doing it here too. And as the kind of like smooth playboy Bruce Wayne is usually portrayed as, not so much here for me. I know it. Then the plot brings in Kim Basinger, who's a photographer, and she's with a coworker who's the reporter trying to get the scoop on the Batman. So this whole storyline kind of felt like it was being pulled in from a mix of Spider-Man with the photographer angle, with Peter Parker, she's a photographer, trying to show Batman, which maybe is a common superhero thing, but also bringing in Superman a little bit with the newspaper angle, and the Kim Basinger character was a little Lois Lane-ish in ways as well. So I felt like it was bringing in these outside things. And it is crazy to think of course, this was before there was a Spider-Man movie ever, and there had been Superman movies, but they'd come out a while before this one. I think they were popular, but it is crazy to think of back in the day here how superhero movies were so few and far between, and that's obviously, everyone knows, completely different from today. And this was obviously, I think, instrumental in getting the superhero thing going, even though it was maybe some years after that with X-Men and Spider-Man and movies like that really got the craze going with Marvel and everything. But anyway, I do think Keaton works well as Batman when he's, when he's playing that role, when he's antagonizing villains and everything like that, stopping them. In the suit, it still looks pretty good to this day, I think.
Nice outfit.
But overall, yeah, there wasn't a lot of characterization in Batman. Shockingly, I would say there's more characterization and more character arc of Lego Batman than Keaton's Batman in this film. But there's some cool shots with him and everything, some cool set pieces. I think him and Basinger have okay chemistry, but their plotline doesn't really go too far in any direction. And there's just some contrivances, I thought, or some strange things about the plot, how kind of Alfred brings her character Vicky Vale in, even before she kind of might suspect it's Batman as Bruce Wayne, etc. Then Alfred just reveals it without really consulting Bruce. And also, Alfred doesn't have much to do in this movie. That's one of the main things he does.
Good evening, ma'am.
A little crowded.
Commissioner Gordon, as I mentioned in the other review, doesn't have much to do in this one either. I forgot that Billy D. Williams shows up a couple times as Harvey Dent in this film, and that's echoed in Lego Batman, where they get him to do the voice of Two-Face for a couple lines here and there that he has in Lego Batman. So that was a funny connection I saw. But overall, I'm getting to that there's not a lot of characters in this movie, mostly the main three, and a lot more time devoted, it seemed, to Joker and his backstory and what he's doing than even to Bruce and Batman. So overall, it didn't make for the best Batman story, I would say, even though it looks pretty good, and it's definitely a very watchable movie. You can watch it start to finish. You're not going to get bored or anything like that. I don't think. Even maybe kids watching today, I think could still handle it. Older kids without getting too bored, I think. But along with the contrivances of I mentioned Alfred shows her. Also, they set up two things that I didn't love. So, like I kind of mentioned, Jack Napier, the pre-Joker character, Bruce Wayne actually realizes he's the one who killed his parents, in this movie. Which, okay, fine if they change that. But then also, Batman's tied in with creating the Joker because it's because of his intervening at this chemical factory with the cops and everything. Jack Napier is there, and he falls in the vat, becomes the Joker. So they're tied again in this way, and then they figure that out later in the movie. But it was just a little too contrived for me personally with both of those things happening. Maybe one or the other would work a little better of those events, but eliminating the whole thing, I think it probably would have been better to just start Joker out, not knowing anything, not being connected to Bruce Wayne, Batman in any way until he gets on the scene and doesn't like Batman getting his headlines and attention. So I think that might have been a little better. I guess it is trying to tie them in a lot.
It's a nice apartment. Lots of space.
Tie Bruce and the Joker together.
Nice place you got here. Lots of space.
And with some of these things that are kind of contrivances then. And back to the Joker, I mean, yeah, he gets probably more even screen time than Batman in this film, or at least as much. He's doing a lot of his typical Joker things, passing out free money. Cutting into all these TV networks and everything, broadcasting live, and of course doing his Joker, gassing with people. And with his various henchmen that come from seemingly nowhere and everything. At least in this movie, I guess he's a gangster before, so maybe knows some people still. Makes more sense maybe than some other Joker plot lines and other things. Still watchable. Okay, so to conclude, I would say check out Lego Batman. I think most people will like it. And the original Batman from 1989, I would say probably most people have seen it. If you're younger and have never gone back and watched it, I would say give it a watch, even just for historical purposes. This is one of the first superhero movies to really get the craze going. And even though I do have some issues with it, especially plot-wise and character-wise, it still is worth a watch as well. So that is going to do it for episode 1 of Drewz Reviewz. And I'll be back next time with episode 2. For a couple films and maybe the more horror genre, so look out for that one, and peace. Batman!